Snake Island. Far off the coast of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean, there is a small island that few people have ever seen up close. It looks peaceful from a distance. The waves move gently around it. The trees grow thick and green across its rocky surface. But this island hides a danger so extreme that it has earned a chilling reputation. It is known as Snake Island, a place where nature has taken a dark and deadly turn. The real name of this island is Ilha da Queimada Grande. It lies about 35 kilometers from the Brazilian coastline. Its size is small, less than half a square kilometer. At first glance, it does not seem very different from other tropical islands. There are no large predators. There are no signs of human life. There are no buildings except for an old lighthouse. But what lives here is far more terrifying than anything most people can imagine. Snake Island is home to one of the highest concentrations of venomous snakes anywhere on Earth. Scientists have estimated that in some areas there could be several snakes within just a few square meters. That means every step could bring you dangerously close to one. There are no safe paths. There are no clear spaces. The ground itself feels alive, constantly shifting with hidden movement. The dominant species on the island is the golden lancehead viper. This snake is found nowhere else in the world. It evolved in isolation after the island separated from the mainland thousands of years ago. Over time, it adapted to a unique and harsh environment. With no large animals to hunt, the snakes turned to birds as their main source of food. Migratory birds would stop on the island unaware of the danger waiting below. To survive, the golden lancehead developed an extremely powerful venom. It needed to act quickly. A bird that could still fly, even for a few seconds, would escape and be lost forever. So the venom became fast-acting and highly destructive. It attacks tissue rapidly. It can cause severe internal damage in a short time. In humans, a single bite can be fatal if not treated immediately. What makes this even more unsettling is how efficient these snakes have become. They can strike quickly and accurately. They often rest in low branches or hidden among leaves. This allows them to ambush birds from above. For a human, this means danger is not only underfoot, but also at eye level. Every direction becomes a threat. There are stories tied to this island that add to its dark image. One of the most well-known involves a lighthouse keeper who once lived there with his family. According to local legend, snakes entered the house through windows and attacked them during the night. While some details may be exaggerated, the message remains clear. Living on the island is not possible in any normal sense. Because of the extreme danger, the Brazilian government has made it illegal for the public to visit Snake Island. Only a small number of scientists are allowed to go there, and even they must follow strict safety rules. They wear protective gear. They move carefully. They never stay longer than necessary. Even with preparation, the risk is always present. The isolation of the island is a key part of its story. Around 11,000 years ago, rising sea levels separated it from the mainland. This cut off the animals that once lived there. With no predators and limited food, the snakes faced a harsh challenge. But instead of disappearing, they adapted. They became more specialized. They became more dangerous. Over time, the island turned into a place where snakes dominate every corner. This creates a strange and fragile ecosystem. The snakes depend heavily on migratory birds. If the number of birds changes, the entire balance could collapse. Scientists are studying this closely. They want to understand how such an extreme environment can exist and continue to survive. At the same time, they also want to protect it. The golden lancehead is rare, and despite its deadly nature, it is still an important part of the natural world. Snake Island is not a mystery in the supernatural sense. There are no ghosts or hidden civilizations. What makes it terrifying is that it is real. It is a place where evolution has pushed a species to its limits. It shows what can happen when isolation, survival, and time combine in the right way. For humans, the island represents a clear boundary. It is a reminder that not every place on Earth is meant to be explored or conquered. Some places belong entirely to nature. Some places are too dangerous to enter, no matter how curious we are. Standing on the shores of Brazil and looking out toward the distant island, it may seem quiet and harmless, but that calm surface hides a deadly truth. Snake Island is not just a dangerous place. It is a warning. It tells us that the natural world still holds power far beyond our control. And sometimes the smartest decision is simply to stay away. Lake Natron, Tanzania. In the remote northern region of Tanzania, near the border with Kenya, there is a lake that looks like it belongs to another planet. From above, Lake Natron glows in shades of deep red, burnt orange, and pale pink. It appears beautiful at first glance, but this beauty hides one of the most hostile environments on Earth. It is a place where water can burn skin, where animals can die within moments, and where bodies can turn into stone-like forms. This is not a myth. This is Lake Natron. The lake sits in the East African Rift Valley, an area shaped by volcanic forces over millions of years. Nearby volcanoes release minerals into the surrounding land. Rainwater carries these minerals into the lake basin. Over time, this process has created a unique chemical environment. The water in Lake Natron is extremely alkaline. Its pH can reach levels close to ammonia. The lake is also rich in a compound called natron, a natural mixture of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate. This chemical cocktail gives the lake its strange and dangerous properties. Temperatures in Lake Natron can rise to around 60 degrees Celsius. Combined with its high alkalinity, the water becomes highly caustic. It can burn the skin and damage the eyes of any creature that enters it. Few organisms can survive such conditions. Most life forms that accidentally come into contact with the lake face immediate danger. For humans, even brief exposure can cause serious injury. This alone makes the lake a place that should not be approached carelessly. One of the most disturbing aspects of Lake Natron is what happens to animals that die in or near its waters. Along the shoreline, there are preserved remains of birds and bats. Their bodies appear stiff-dry and coated in mineral deposits. They look as if they have been turned into stone statues. In reality, the process is chemical, not supernatural. When an animal dies in the lake, the high concentration of natron begins to preserve the body. Minerals slowly coat the surface. Over time, the remains harden and take on a sculptural appearance. The result is both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Photographs of these stone animals have spread across the world. Many people believe the lake instantly turns living creatures into stone. That is not entirely accurate. The process requires time and specific conditions. However, the visual effect is powerful enough to create that illusion. It is easy to see why stories and rumors have grown around this place. Lake Natron feels like a natural trap. It is quiet, still, and deadly. The lake's striking red color adds to its eerie atmosphere. The color comes from microorganisms that thrive in extreme environments. These include halophilic bacteria and algae. They produce pigments as they survive in the salty alkaline water. When sunlight hits the surface, the lake glows in intense colors. In some areas, it looks like liquid fire. In others, it resembles blood spread across a vast landscape. This visual effect makes the lake appear alive, yet everything about it suggests danger. Despite its harsh conditions, Lake Natron is not completely lifeless. In fact, it plays a critical role in the survival of one species. The lake is the primary breeding ground for the lesser flamingo. Millions of these birds gather here each year. They build nests on small islands formed by salt deposits. The same conditions that make the lake deadly also protect the flamingos. Predators cannot easily approach through the caustic water. This creates a rare safe zone in an otherwise hostile environment. Flamingos have adapted to survive here. Their skin is resistant to the alkaline water. They feed on the algae that grow in the lake. While the environment is extreme, it offers them a unique advantage. This contrast is one of the most fascinating aspects of Lake Natron. It is a place of death for many creatures, yet a place of life for others. There are still questions about how animals end up dying in the lake. One theory suggests that the reflective surface confuses birds. The lake can act like a mirror, especially under certain lighting conditions. Birds may mistake it for open sky and fly directly into it. Another possibility is exhaustion. Migratory birds may land on the lake without realizing its danger. Once they make contact, escape becomes difficult. The surrounding landscape adds to the sense of isolation. The region is dry-hot and largely uninhabited. Sharp salt crusts cover parts of the shoreline. The ground can crack underfoot. Heat rises from the surface, distorting the air above it. There is very little shade, very little water that is safe to drink. It feels like a place where life struggles to exist. For humans, Lake Natron is not a place for casual exploration. It is not a destination where you can simply walk to the water's edge without risk. Protective measures are necessary even for short visits. The environment demands respect. Without it, the consequences can be severe. Yet, despite its dangers, Lake Natron continues to attract attention. Scientists study its unique chemistry and ecosystems. Photographers are drawn to its surreal beauty. Filmmakers use it as a symbol of nature's extremes. It stands as a reminder that the Earth still holds places that are beyond our control. Lake Natron challenges the way we think about nature. It is not just a lake. It is a natural system shaped by geology, chemistry, and time. It shows how life can adapt in unexpected ways. It also shows how fragile life can be when faced with the wrong conditions. In the end, Lake Natron is both beautiful and terrifying. It is a place where color hides danger, where silence hides death, and where science can feel like mystery. It is one of the few places on Earth where the line between life and death is so thin that it can be crossed in an instant. And for that reason, it remains a place where humans should think twice before stepping too close. Death Valley, USA. Death Valley, located in the United States, is one of the most extreme environments on Earth, a place where nature pushes the limits of survival in ways that feel almost unreal. At first glance, it may appear as a vast and empty desert, a silent expanse of sand rock and salt stretching endlessly under a blazing sun. But beneath that stillness lies a landscape shaped by forces so intense that even the simplest act of being there can become dangerous. What makes Death Valley truly stand out is its heat. It holds the record for the highest air temperature ever recorded on Earth, reaching a staggering 56.7 degrees Celsius. But numbers alone do not capture the reality. The heat here does not just surround you, it presses down on you. The air feels heavy, almost suffocating, and the ground itself can become hot enough to burn skin on contact. In summer, temperatures regularly climb above 45 degrees Celsius, turning the valley into a natural furnace where dehydration can happen faster than most people expect. The geography of Death Valley plays a crucial role in this extreme heat. It is a deep basin, sitting far below sea level, surrounded by high mountain ranges. These mountains trap hot air inside, preventing it from escaping. As sunlight pours into the valley, the heat builds and builds with nowhere to go. The result is a kind of natural heat trap, where temperatures remain high even at night, offering little relief. At the lowest point of the valley lies a place called Badwater Basin. It is the lowest point in North America, sitting 86 meters below sea level. The ground here is covered in thick layers of white salt, forming vast geometric patterns that stretch across the landscape. From a distance, it can look like snow or ice, but stepping onto it reveals a hard, cracked surface that reflects sunlight with blinding intensity. This salt flat is the remains of an ancient lake that once filled the valley thousands of years ago. Over time, the water evaporated, leaving behind only minerals. What remains is both beautiful and harsh, a reminder of how dramatically this land has changed. One of the most mysterious features of Death Valley can be found at a remote location known as Racetrack Playa. Here, large stones appear to move across the dry lake bed, leaving long trails behind them. For many years, this phenomenon puzzled scientists and visitors alike. The idea of heavy rocks moving on their own across flat ground seemed almost impossible. Some stones weigh more than 20 kilograms, yet they shift, silently carving paths that can stretch for hundreds of meters. Only recently has this mystery begun to be understood. Under very specific conditions, a thin layer of water forms on the playa and freezes overnight. As the sun rises, the ice begins to break apart into large panels. Light winds then push these panels across the surface, and as they move, they gently carry the stones along with them. The motion is slow and rarely witnessed, which is why it remained unexplained for so long. Even now, seeing the trails without witnessing the movement creates a strange and unsettling feeling, as if the landscape itself is alive. Beyond its heat and mysteries, Death Valley is also a place of surprising color. In certain areas, hills and mountains display shades of red, yellow, green, and purple. These colors come from different minerals in the rock, each reacting to oxidation in unique ways. The result is a landscape that looks almost painted as if nature itself has created a massive work of art. Yet even this beauty carries danger, as the same sun that reveals these colors also drives the extreme conditions that make the valley so hostile. The desert here is not entirely lifeless, but survival is difficult. Plants and animals that live in Death Valley have adapted in remarkable ways. Some plants grow only during rare periods of rain, completing their life cycles quickly before the heat returns. Animals tend to be active at night, avoiding the deadly temperatures of the day. Even so, the balance is fragile, and a small change in conditions can have severe consequences. For humans, the danger is constant and often underestimated. The dryness of the air means sweat evaporates almost instantly, making it hard to realize how much water the body is losing. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke can develop quickly, especially for those who are unprepared. Vehicles can overheat, equipment can fail, and distances that appear manageable can become deadly under the relentless sun. The name Death Valley itself comes from a group of pioneers during the California Gold Rush. Many attempted to cross this region in search of fortune, but the harsh conditions proved overwhelming. Some did not survive the journey, and the name became a lasting warning. Interestingly, the number of deaths was not as high as the name suggests, but the fear and difficulty of crossing the valley left a deep impression on those who experienced it. What makes Death Valley truly unsettling is not just its danger, but the way it challenges human perception. It is a place where silence dominates, where the horizon seems endless, and where the environment feels almost alien. The combination of extreme heat, shifting landscapes, and unexplained phenomena creates a sense that this is not a place meant for easy human presence. In many ways, Death Valley serves as a reminder of how powerful and unforgiving nature can be. It is not a place that actively seeks to harm, but it operates under conditions that leave little room for error. One mistake, one moment of underestimating the environment can quickly turn a visit into a life-threatening situation. And that is what makes Death Valley one of the places on Earth where humans should think carefully before setting foot. It is not just a desert. It is a landscape shaped by extremes where survival depends on respect, preparation, and an understanding that some environments exist beyond the limits of human comfort. North Sentinel Island, India. In the vast waters of the Bay of Bengal, far from the crowded coastlines of modern civilization, lies a small island that seems frozen in another age. North Sentinel Island is not just remote. It is deliberately untouched. It is one of the last places on Earth where the modern world has no authority, no influence, and no welcome. At first glance, the island appears almost peaceful. Dense green forests cover its land from edge to edge. White sand beaches form a quiet border between jungle and sea. The waves move gently, as they do on countless other tropical islands. But beneath this calm surface lies a reality that makes this place one of the most dangerous locations a human can approach. North Sentinel Island is home to the Sentinelese, a tribe that has lived in complete isolation for thousands of years. They are believed to be among the last uncontacted people on Earth. Unlike other remote tribes that have had limited interaction with outsiders, the Sentinelese have rejected every attempt at contact. Their isolation is not accidental. It is a choice enforced with absolute determination. Very little is known about their daily life. No one has studied their language. No one has mapped their culture. Even their population size remains uncertain. What is known comes from brief, distant observations. They hunt, gather, and fish using simple tools. They build small structures and move within the forest. Their way of life appears unchanged for thousands of years, as if time itself has stopped on this island. What makes North Sentinel Island especially dangerous is not the environment, but its people's response to outsiders. The Sentinelese do not hesitate. When strangers approach, they respond with weapons. Arrows are fired. Spears are thrown. Warning gestures quickly turn into direct attacks. There is no negotiation, no curiosity, and no attempt at communication. To them, outsiders are a threat, and that threat must be eliminated. Several real-world incidents have made this clear. In 2006, two fishermen accidentally drifted too close to the island. They never returned, In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow attempted to reach the island, hoping to make contact. He ignored the warnings. He was killed shortly after arriving. These events are not exceptions. They are the rule. The government of India has recognized the unique danger and importance of this place. A strict exclusion zone surrounds the island. No boats are allowed within several kilometers. Aircraft must keep their distance. This is not only to protect outsiders, but more importantly, to protect the Sentinelese themselves. One of the greatest hidden dangers of contact is disease. The Sentinelese have lived in isolation for so long that they have no immunity to common illnesses. A simple cold, something harmless to most people, could spread rapidly and wipe out the entire tribe. In this sense, an attempt to help or explore could become an act of destruction. This creates a rare and powerful paradox. North Sentinel Island is dangerous to humans, yet humans are also dangerous to it. It is one of the few places where the greatest threat goes both ways. The island does not need to be conquered, studied, or understood to have value. Its existence alone challenges the modern belief that every part of the world must be explored. There are also deeper mysteries surrounding the Sentinelese. Some scientists believe they are direct descendants of the earliest human migrations out of Africa. If true, they carry genetic and cultural information that has remained untouched for tens of thousands of years. They are not just a tribe. They are a living connection to humanity's distant past. Yet that past remains locked behind an invisible barrier. The Sentinelese have seen helicopters. They have seen boats. They are not unaware of the outside world. And still, they choose isolation. This decision is perhaps the most fascinating mystery of all. In a world driven by expansion and curiosity, they have chosen separation and defense. Compared to other isolated tribes in places like the Amazon, the Sentinelese stand apart. Some groups accept limited contact. Some trade from a distance. The Sentinelese do neither. Their resistance is total. Their message is clear, even without words. Stay away. North Sentinel Island is not dangerous in the way a volcano or a desert is dangerous. It does not rely on extreme temperatures or natural disasters. Its danger comes from a boundary that cannot be crossed. It is a reminder that not every place is meant for human presence, even if humans already exist there. In the end, North Sentinel Island represents something rare in the modern world. It is a place where human curiosity must stop. It is a place where respect matters more than discovery. And it is a place that proves that sometimes the most mysterious and powerful stories are the ones we are not meant to touch. Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, Ukraine. Hidden in the northern part of Ukraine, near the border with Belarus, the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone is one of the most haunting places on Earth. It is not defined by ruins alone, but by an invisible force that still lingers in the air, the soil, and the silence. This is a place where human life abruptly stopped, yet the consequences continue to unfold in ways that are still not fully understood. The story begins in the early hours of April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. A sudden explosion tore through reactor number 4 during a late-night safety test. What followed was not just an industrial accident, but one of the most devastating technological disasters in human history, known as the Chernobyl disaster. A massive cloud of radioactive material rose into the sky and spread across vast regions of Europe. The danger was silent and invisible, and for many it arrived long before they even realized it was there. Just a few kilometers away stood the city of Pripyat, a modern Soviet town built for plant workers and their families. Nearly 50,000 people lived there, surrounded by schools, parks, and apartment blocks. Within hours of the explosion, their lives were quietly unraveling. Yet the evacuation did not happen immediately. Residents went about their day as usual, unaware that radiation levels were rising rapidly around them. When the order finally came, they were told to leave, only for a short time. Most took only essentials, believing they would soon return. They never did. Today, Pripyat remains frozen in that final moment. The rusted Ferris wheel in the amusement park stands as a symbol of a celebration that never happened. Classrooms still hold scattered books and broken desks. In abandoned apartments, personal belongings remain where they were left, as if their owners might walk back in at any moment. Dust covers everything, But beneath that layer lies something far more dangerous than decay. Radiation is the true presence that defines the exclusion zone. It cannot be seen or smelled, and it does not announce itself. In some areas, levels have dropped enough to allow brief visits under strict control. In others, the ground remains heavily contaminated, capable of causing serious harm after only short exposure. One of the most infamous locations is the Red Forest, where trees absorbed such intense radiation that they turned a deep reddish color before dying. Even today, it is considered one of the most radioactive places on the planet. What makes this region even more unsettling is that it is not entirely lifeless. In the absence of humans, nature has returned with unexpected strength. Forests have expanded, and wildlife now roams freely through abandoned streets and buildings. Wolves, deer, wild boars, and rare bird species have established thriving populations. From a distance, it may appear that the ecosystem is recovering, even flourishing. Yet scientists continue to study whether these animals are truly healthy or simply surviving under altered biological conditions. Some research has revealed genetic mutations and unusual adaptations, raising new questions about how life responds to long-term radiation exposure. The exclusion zone has become something of a paradox. It is both a warning and a mystery. It shows the destructive power of human error, yet it also reveals the resilience of nature. Entire neighborhoods are being slowly reclaimed by trees and vines. Buildings collapse as roots push through concrete. Roads disappear under layers of vegetation. It is as if the land itself is erasing the traces of human presence quietly and patiently. Despite the danger-controlled tours, now allow small groups of visitors to enter certain parts of the zone. Equipped with radiation detectors and guided by strict rules, they walk through a world that feels detached from time. However, this does not make the area safe. The threat remains constant, even if it is not immediately visible. A single misstep, such as touching contaminated objects or stepping into restricted zones, can still pose serious risks. Chernobyl stands today not only as a physical location, but as a lasting symbol. It represents the fragile balance between technological ambition and human responsibility. It reminds us that some consequences cannot be reversed, only contained. Decades have passed, yet the land continues to carry the imprint of that single night. To step into the Chernobyl exclusion zone is to enter a place where silence feels heavy, where beauty and danger exist side by side, and where the past has never truly left. It is not simply a destination that people should avoid. It is a place that challenges our understanding of survival risk and the unseen forces that shape our world. Danakil Depression, Ethiopia. Few places on Earth feel as hostile, alien, and unforgiving as the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. Located deep within the Afar region, this vast geological basin sits more than 100 meters below sea level and is often described as one of the hottest inhabited places on the planet. But heat alone does not define Danakil. What makes it truly extraordinary is how every element of this landscape seems to push the limits of what we consider survivable. From a distance, the terrain appears almost unreal. Bright pools of neon green, yellow, and orange shimmer under the relentless sun. These colors are not reflections or illusions. They come from mineral-rich hydrothermal systems, where sulfur, iron, and salt combine in violent chemical reactions. In the area known as Dalal, the ground itself seems alive. Acidic pools bubble and shift, releasing toxic gases into the air. The surface can change within days, sometimes even hours, creating new formations, while erasing others. It is a place where the Earth behaves more like a living organism than a stable landscape. Temperatures here regularly exceed 35 degrees Celsius, and on many days they climb far higher. Combined with the intense humidity and the reflective glare of salt flats, the heat becomes oppressive in a way that is difficult to describe. Prolonged exposure can quickly lead to dehydration, heat stroke, or worse. There is little shade, almost no fresh water, and no natural shelter. For an unprepared visitor, survival is measured in hours, not days. Yet the danger in Danakil is not only the heat. Beneath the surface lies one of the most geologically active regions on Earth. The depression sits within the Afar Triangle, a rare tectonic junction, where three massive plates are slowly pulling apart. This process, known as rifting, is gradually tearing the African continent into pieces. Cracks form in the ground. New crust emerges. Over millions of years, scientists believe this region may become a new ocean basin. Standing here is like witnessing the planet in the act of reshaping itself. Volcanic activity adds another layer of unpredictability. Nearby rises Erta Ale, one of the few volcanoes on Earth with a persistent lava lake. Its glowing surface churns continuously, releasing heat and gases into the surrounding air. At night, the horizon can flicker with a dull red light, as if the ground itself is breathing fire. One of the most unsettling aspects of Danakil is the chemistry of its waters. Many of the pools in Dalol are not just hot, but extremely acidic. Their pH levels can be comparable to battery acid. Contact with these liquids can cause severe burns, and even brief exposure may damage skin or eyes. The gases released, including sulfur dioxide and other toxic compounds, can irritate the lungs and pose serious health risks. In some areas, the air itself becomes hazardous to breathe. For a long time, scientists believed that no life could exist in such an extreme environment. The combination of high temperature, high salinity, and strong acidity seem to create conditions beyond the limits of biology. However, recent studies have challenged this assumption. This ongoing debate has turned the region into a natural laboratory for astrobiology. Boiling Lake Dominica, hidden deep within the dense rainforest of Morne Trois Piton National Park, lies a place that feels less like Earth and more like a warning. The boiling lake is not just a rare natural wonder. It is a raw, unstable wound in the planet's surface. Here the ground breathes heat, the air carries poison, and the water itself never rests. It boils. The journey to reach this place already feels like crossing a boundary that should not be crossed. There are no roads, no safety rails, and no easy paths. The trail winds for hours through thick jungle where light struggles to reach the forest floor. Every step pulls you deeper into isolation. The sounds of civilization fade away, replaced by insects' distant water and something else, a low, constant rumble that seems to come from beneath your feet. As the trail continues, the environment begins to change. The green fades. The air grows heavier. The smell arrives before the sight, a sharp, choking scent of sulfur that burns the throat and stings the eyes. This is the edge of the Valley of Desolation, a place where the earth seems to be breaking apart. The ground is cracked and stained with strange colors. Steam rises from vents in every direction. Small pools of water bubble quietly, as if testing the limits before erupting. Nothing here feels stable. The soil can collapse without warning. The heat seeps upward through your shoes. Each step becomes a calculation. Each breath feels slightly dangerous. It is a place that does not welcome life, yet it is alive in its own violent way. And then, after hours of walking through this unstable landscape, the lake appears. At first, it is not even clear what you are seeing. A thick cloud of white steam hides most of it. The air vibrates with heat. Then the wind shifts for a moment, and the surface reveals itself. A massive pool of gray water rolling and churning like a storm trapped in a crater. Waves rise and crash against the edges, not from wind, but from energy rising from below. The entire lake is boiling. This is not a metaphor. The water's literally at or near boiling point. In some areas, it may even exceed it under pressure. Bubbles rise constantly from the depths, bursting with force. The surface never calms. It never pauses. It is a permanent state of agitation, driven by something far beneath the visible world. What makes Boiling Lake truly unsettling is not just its appearance, but what it represents. Beneath the lake lies a system of volcanic heat. Rainwater seeps down through cracks in the earth. It reaches zones where magma heats it beyond its limits. Pressure builds. Steam forces its way back upward, carrying heat and energy with it. The lake is simply the visible result of that hidden system. It is not the source. It is the symptom. Standing near the edge, you begin to understand how fragile the situation is. The ground around the lake is not solid in the way we expect. It is thin, unstable, and constantly changing. A misstep could mean breaking through into scalding water or superheated mud. There are no second chances here. The margin for error does not exist. The air itself is another threat. Gases released from the earth mix into the steam. Hydrogen sulfide is one of them. In small amounts, it smells like rotten eggs. In higher concentrations, it can overwhelm the body. It can disorient, weaken, and in extreme cases, kill. The danger is not always visible. Sometimes it arrives silently carried by a shift in the wind. Even more unsettling is the behavior of the lake over time. There have been moments when Boiling Lake has suddenly changed. The water level has dropped dramatically. The boiling has stopped. For a brief period, the lake has appeared almost empty, revealing its rocky floor. Then, just as suddenly, it returns. The water rises again. The boiling resumes. The system resets as if nothing happened. No one fully understands why this happens. It suggests that the underground network feeding the lake is constantly shifting. Pathways open and close. Pressure builds and releases. The entire system is dynamic, unstable, and impossible to predict with certainty. This unpredictability is what makes the lake more than just dangerous. It makes it unknowable. You are not simply standing near a hot body of water. You are standing above an active geological process that is still unfolding. It is not finished. It is not settled. There is also something psychological about the place that is difficult to ignore. The constant movement, the noise, the heat, and the isolation combine into a feeling that is hard to describe. It feels wrong in a very deep way. Not because it is unnatural, but because it is too natural. It is the earth in a state that humans were never meant to experience up close. Most landscapes allow us to exist within them. Forests, mountains, and oceans can be dangerous, but they still offer moments of calm. Boiling Lake offers none. It does not rest, and it does not allow you to forget where you are. Every second near it is a reminder that the ground beneath you is thin, and what lies below is powerful enough to reshape the surface at any moment. There are no permanent structures here, no signs of long-term human presence, no attempt to control or contain what is happening. And that may be the most honest response. Some places are not meant to be conquered, explored casually, or turned into destinations. Some places exist as they are, beyond our control and beyond our comfort. Boiling Lake is one of those places. It stands as a reminder that the Earth is not a stable platform built for human life. It is a dynamic system, full of pressure, heat, and hidden movement. Most of the time that activity is invisible. But here in this remote corner of Dominica, it breaks through the surface in the most direct way possible. The lake does not simply sit there. It roars, breathes, and boils. It reveals a world beneath our feet that is still active, still dangerous, and still largely unexplored. And perhaps that is why places like this feel so unsettling. Because they show us that no matter how far we advance, there are still parts of this planet where we are not in control. And maybe we were never meant to be. Mount Everest, Nepal, Tibet. Rising above the clouds at 8,848.86 meters, Mount Everest is often seen as the ultimate symbol of human ambition. From a distance, it looks calm and majestic, like a frozen giant watching over the world. But this mountain is not a place of beauty alone. It is a place where the rules of life begin to break down. It is a place where the human body slowly shuts itself off. And more than anything else, it is a place that quietly reminds us that not every part of Earth was meant to be conquered. The higher you climb, the less the world feels real. Above 8,000 meters lies what climbers call the death zone. Here the air holds only a fraction of the oxygen found at sea level. Each breath feels thin and incomplete. The body cannot adapt no matter how strong or prepared you are. Cells begin to die. The brain struggles to think clearly. Even simple actions become exhausting tasks. At this altitude, the human body is not living. It is slowly dying. Time behaves differently in this place. Climbers describe moments where hours feel like minutes, or minutes stretch endlessly. Many report seeing things that are not there. Some hear voices. Others feel a strange presence walking beside them. This phenomenon, often called the third man, remains one of Everest's most unsettling mysteries. Is it simply the mind breaking under stress, or something deeper that we do not yet understand? The mountain is also home to a silent and permanent reminder of its danger. Scattered along its routes are the bodies of those who never returned. More than 200 climbers remain on Everest preserved by the extreme cold. The freezing temperatures prevent decomposition, turning them into frozen figures locked in time. Some lie hidden beneath snow. Others are visible, resting exactly where they fell. In some cases, these bodies have become markers along the climbing path, known and recognized by those who pass them. It is a chilling reality. On Everest, even death does not guarantee a return home. Nature on Everest is not stable. It is unpredictable and often violent. The weather can change without warning. A clear sky can turn into a deadly storm in minutes. Winds can reach speeds strong enough to knock a person off balance. Temperatures can drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius. At such extremes, exposed skin can freeze in seconds. Equipment can fail. Visibility can disappear. In these moments, survival depends not only on skill, but also on luck. One of the most dangerous sections of the mountain is the Khumbu Icefall. It is not a solid path, but a constantly shifting maze of ice. Towering blocks of frozen water, known as sea racks, stand like unstable buildings. They can collapse at any time without warning. Beneath them lie deep crevasses hidden by thin layers of snow. Climbers must cross these gaps using narrow ladders often suspended over darkness. Every step feels uncertain. Every sound of cracking ice carries a message of danger. What makes it even more terrifying is that the entire icefall is moving. It changes shape every day, making it impossible to fully predict or control. Despite all this, people continue to climb. Some are driven by the desire to achieve something extraordinary. Others are searching for meaning or testing their limits. But Everest does not care about motivation. It does not recognize experience or courage. The mountain remains the same, cold and indifferent. It offers no forgiveness for mistakes. There is also something deeper that makes Everest unsettling. It is not just the physical danger. It is the psychological weight. In such an extreme environment, the line between reality and illusion begins to blur. The silence becomes overwhelming. The isolation becomes absolute. You are far from help, far from comfort, and far from anything familiar. In that space, the mind can become your greatest enemy. Even today, Everest still holds secrets. As glaciers slowly melt, new discoveries are being revealed. Old equipment, long-lost camps, and even bodies from decades ago are emerging from the ice. These findings remind us that the mountain is not static. It is constantly changing, slowly uncovering pieces of its past. What else remains hidden beneath the ice is still unknown. Mount Everest is often described as a challenge to be conquered, but perhaps that idea is flawed. Some places are not meant to be won. They exist beyond human control, beyond human comfort, and beyond human survival. Everest is one of those places. It stands as a reminder that there are limits to what we can endure. And sometimes the greatest wisdom is not in reaching the top, but in knowing when to turn back. Movil Cave, Romania. Beneath an unremarkable stretch of land near the Black Sea in Romania, there exists a place that feels less like part of Earth and more like a sealed fragment of another world. It is called Movil Cave. From the outside, nothing hints at what lies below. There are no dramatic cliffs or ancient ruins. There's only flat ground and silence. But beneath that surface, hidden for millions of years, is an ecosystem that should not exist by the rules most of us understand. Movil Cave was discovered by accident in 1986 during a geological survey. Workers were drilling into the ground when they broke through into a sealed underground chamber. What they found was not just a cave, but a completely isolated world. The air inside was toxic. The walls were coated with strange films. The water was thick with chemicals. And yet, against all expectations, the cave was alive. This is one of the few known places on Earth where life has evolved without any connection to sunlight. In most ecosystems, energy begins with plants using light to grow. Here there is no light at all. Instead, the entire food chain is built on bacteria. These microorganisms do not rely on the sun. They survive by breaking down chemicals like hydrogen sulfide and methane. This process, known as chemosynthesis, creates the base of a fragile but complete ecosystem. The air inside Movil Cave is extremely dangerous. Oxygen levels are less than half of what humans need to breathe safely. Carbon dioxide is present in very high concentrations. Hydrogen sulfide, a toxic gas that smells like rotten eggs, fills parts of the cave. Even short exposure without protection can cause dizziness, loss of consciousness, or worse. For an unprepared visitor, entering this cave would be like stepping into a slow, invisible trap. Despite these deadly conditions, life has not only survived here, it has adapted in ways that seem almost alien. Scientists have identified more than 50 species inside the cave. Many of them exist nowhere else on Earth. These creatures have evolved in complete darkness for millions of years. As a result, most of them have no eyes. Their bodies are pale and almost translucent. Instead of sight, they rely on touch and chemical signals to navigate their environment. Spiders, scorpions, centipedes, and insects move through this hidden world. They hunt, feed, and reproduce in an ecosystem that depends entirely on chemical energy. At the base are the bacteria, forming a thin floating layer on the water and surfaces. Small organisms feed on these microbes. Larger predators then feed on them. It is a closed loop of life that has remained undisturbed for an immense span of time. What makes Moville Cave even more unsettling is its isolation. Geological evidence suggests that the cave has been sealed off from the outside world for around 5.5 million years. During this time, no sunlight has entered. No outside species have mixed with those inside. Evolution has taken place in complete separation. This has allowed life to follow a path very different from anything on the surface. For scientists, Moville Cave is more than just a curiosity. It is a living model of how life might exist in extreme environments beyond Earth. The conditions inside resemble what might be found beneath the surface of Mars, or within the icy oceans of distant moons like Europa. If life can survive here without sunlight, it raises the possibility that life elsewhere in the universe might not need it either. However, for humans, this cave is not a place to explore freely. Access is tightly restricted. Only a small number of researchers are allowed inside each year. Even they must follow strict protocols. They wear protective suits and carry their own oxygen supply. Time inside the cave is carefully limited. Every movement is controlled to avoid disturbing the delicate ecosystem. The danger is not only to humans, but also to the cave itself. Because the system is so isolated, even minor contamination from the outside could cause irreversible damage. A single introduced organism could disrupt the balance that has existed for millions of years. In this sense, Moville Cave is both fragile and resilient at the same time. There is also a deeper, more unsettling idea tied to this place. Moville Cave challenges the assumption that sunlight is essential for life. It suggests that life can begin and evolve in darkness, driven only by chemical energy. This raises questions about the origins of life on Earth itself. It is possible that the earliest forms of life did not rely on sunlight at all, but instead emerged in environments similar to this hidden cave. Standing above Moville Cave, you would never guess what lies beneath your feet. There is no sound, no movement, no visible sign of the strange world below. Yet, just a short distance underground, an entire ecosystem exists in darkness and poison. It is a reminder that Earth still holds places that are not meant for us. Moville Cave is not dangerous in the way a volcano or a desert is dangerous. Its threat is quiet and invisible. There are no flames or storms. There is only air you cannot breathe, water you cannot touch, and a world that does not belong to human life. It is one of the clearest examples of a place where stepping inside is not an adventure, but a mistake. In a world where most places have been explored and mapped, Moville Cave remains an exception. It is a sealed environment, a scientific treasure, and a warning at the same time. Some places are not hostile by design, but by nature. They exist under conditions that life has adapted to, but humans never could. And that is what makes Moville Cave so unsettling. It is not empty. It is full of life. Just not the kind of life we can survive alongside. Bermuda Triangle, Atlantic Ocean. Far out in the Atlantic Ocean lies a stretch of water that has captured human fear for over a century. It is not marked on official maps. Ships still pass through it. Planes still fly above it. Yet the name alone is enough to trigger unease the Bermuda Triangle. This region forms a rough triangle between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. At first glance, it looks like any other part of the ocean. But beneath that calm surface lies a history filled with disappearances, confusion, and unanswered questions. The mystery began to take shape in the early 20th century. Ships were reported missing without distress calls. Crews vanished without leaving behind wreckage. Then came the case that defined the legend. In 1945, 5 U.S. Navy training planes, known as Flight 19, took off for a routine exercise. The weather was not extreme. The mission was simple. Yet, during the flight, the pilots began to report something strange. Their compasses were malfunctioning. The ocean below looked unfamiliar. They could not determine which direction was west. Communication became chaotic. Then silence. The planes never returned. A rescue aircraft sent after them also disappeared. Stories like this created an image of the Bermuda Triangle as a place where navigation fails and reality seems to shift. One of the key factors is the region's unusual magnetic behavior. In certain areas and at certain times, the magnetic north and true north align. This may sound harmless, but for older navigation systems, it could cause serious confusion. A small error in direction over open ocean can quickly turn into a deadly mistake. A ship may believe it is heading home while actually drifting deeper into danger. The weather in this region adds another layer of risk. The Bermuda Triangle sits in a zone where tropical storms and hurricanes form rapidly. These storms can appear with little warning. Winds can intensify within hours. Waves can grow to extreme heights. Among these waves are what scientists call rogue waves. These are massive walls of water that rise suddenly and without pattern. They can reach heights of over 20 meters. Even large ships can be overwhelmed in seconds. There is often no time to send a distress signal. Below the surface, the ocean hides yet another potential threat. Some researchers believe that large deposits of methane gas exist beneath the seabed. Under certain conditions, this gas can be released in sudden bursts. When methane rises through the water, it reduces the water's density. This means a ship loses buoyancy almost instantly. It can sink straight down with little resistance. If the gas reaches the surface and enters the air, it may also disrupt aircraft engines. A plane flying through such a cloud could lose power without warning. Another important factor is the Gulf Stream. This powerful ocean current flows quickly through the Bermuda Triangle. It acts like a moving river within the sea. If a ship or plane crashes, the Gulf Stream can carry debris far away in a short time. This makes it extremely difficult to locate wreckage. In many cases, by the time search teams arrive, there is nothing left to find. This absence of evidence has helped fuel the mystery for decades. Despite all these natural explanations, the Bermuda Triangle has also become a center for more extreme theories. Some believe it is a gateway to another dimension. Others suggest advanced alien technology is hidden beneath the ocean. There are even stories linking it to the lost city of Atlantis. These ideas are dramatic and captivating. However, there is no scientific evidence to support them. They exist mainly because the human mind tries to fill gaps where facts are missing. Modern science offers a more grounded perspective. When researchers examine the data, they find that the number of accidents in the Bermuda Triangle is not significantly higher than in other busy ocean regions. The area is heavily traveled. It has unpredictable weather. It was once navigated with less advanced technology. When all these factors combine, accidents become more likely. What makes this region different is not necessarily the number of incidents, but the way they happened and how they were remembered. Still, this does not mean the danger is imaginary. The Bermuda Triangle remains a place where nature can become hostile very quickly. A clear sky can turn into a violent storm. Calm water can rise into towering waves. Instruments can fail at the worst possible moment. In such conditions, even experienced crews can find themselves in serious trouble. The ocean does not forgive mistakes, and in this region, mistakes can happen fast. Today, with modern navigation systems, satellite tracking, and improved weather forecasting, traveling through the Bermuda Triangle is much safer than before. Thousands of ships and flights pass through it every year without incident. Yet the stories remain. They persist because they reflect something deeper than just physical danger. They remind us that even in an age of technology, there are still places on Earth that feel unpredictable, powerful, and beyond full human control. The Bermuda Triangle is not a supernatural trap. It is not a portal to another world, but it is a place where multiple natural forces combine in ways that can be deadly. It is a reminder that the ocean is still one of the least understood environments on our planet. And for that reason alone, it remains a place that humans should approach with caution, respect, and a clear understanding of its risks. Because sometimes the most dangerous places are not the ones that look threatening. They are the ones that appear, calm, silent, and endless, until it is too late.